Okay, so my objective here is not only to teach you how the software thinks, but more importantly, how to cut through all the nonsense. And I highly suggest, if you really want to be good at this, watch my courses. Don't go on blogs. Don't ask your neighbor's son. Don't ask your coworker. Don't even read books about this because they're just going to confuse the holy heck out of you. I know this because I've been doing this a long time. Okay, 62% of my student base here in New York City, back when I was doing personal training and group training, I don't do that anymore. All my training is now online. But 62% of my base up until about 2011 were people who took courses at SVA and Parsons and Pratt and RISD and Caltech. And they spent a lot of money, but they were never taught the right way. And, you know, it's really unfortunate that that happened because, first of all, they don't pay their teachers very much. And they were taught, it's like the telephone game when you're in the second grade. You tell the story to the first person, the second person, by the time it gets to the end of the class, totally different story. Well, magnify that towards software. And that's why people get very confused. And some people try to make it more difficult than it is. It's not difficult if you know how to do it the right way. Now, what I want to talk about now is something called tagging content. Now, before we can think about tagging content, let's understand what content is according to the laws of a web page. Okay? Content can be a lot of different things. In this particular case, content is text. Okay? Text has different parts: paragraph text, bold text, italic text. Those are tags, tagging the text, tagging the content. Other content can be images. IMG tag is an image tag. Object is a flash file, or SWF, shockwave flash. So every type of content has tagging. Now, this is really an old philosophy. This goes back to the mid-70s with WordPerfect, when you had something called reveal code. You had to basically code your content to tell the word processor was this going to be underlined or bold or capitalized, etc., etc. So that same scenario was then brought to the web back in the early 90s. Okay? So what we need to do is Dreamweaver will do the work for you, but you need to be on top of your game and understand what's happening. So let me break this down in a very, very simple way. Okay, now I'll be very candid with you. If I had students take my courses, whether it's in person or group or even my online training, goes, well, that was really simple. Well, it's simple because I'm making it simple. I'm breaking it down so simply that it really is that simple. That comes down to good training, good teaching. Okay, so here we have a series of paragraphs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, how do I know that these are paragraphs? Well, very simply, if you go down here to the bottom left, this is your selector. This is your tag selector. This is your tag selector roadmap, your tree right here. If I click right here, that's going to select that particular paragraph. If I put my cursor right here, it's going to select this paragraph. Now, since everything, just like writing a letter in the second or third grade, everything is in the body. You had a body, title, salutation, footer. It's the same type of scenario. If I click the body tag, that's going to select everything on the page. Now, let's take this one step further. Here I'm in design mode. If I click here, I'm in code mode. This is going to show me the code that created this tag so the browser understands this. Now, unlike Illustrator or Photoshop or Quark Express, those are all self-contained programs that basically create their own content. Dreamweaver simply creates code. That's what Dreamweaver does. That's all Dreamweaver does. It creates code through tagging that the browser understands. It's really, really that simple. Now, this is an HTML page. How do I know that? Because the doc type says HTML. Here's my opening HTML tag, and at the bottom is my closing HTML tag. Notice that the difference, opening tag, closing tag has the /. So in between the two less than, greater than symbols is an opening and closing tag. Well, body is no exception to that. Here's my opening body tag. Here's my closing body tag. Now, we didn't have to worry about tags. Now, of course, I know how to do all this stuff because back before Dreamweaver or Front Page or PageMill from Adobe back in the mid-90s, you had to write this stuff from scratch. Okay, so you can do some very sophisticated things in this program without touching the code. Now, I don't want you to be intimidated by the code. I just want you to understand that it's not necessary to touch the code. So as an example, I'm going to go back to design mode right now. I'm going to put my cursor right here and I'm going to hit the return key. That in turn is going to create a new paragraph. Now let's undo that for a second. Command Z under the Edit menu, Control Z Windows. If I was to hit Shift key return, I would create what's called a new line or a BR break, but this is still part of the same paragraph. Now in desktop publishing or word processing, that's called a soft return, if you want to look at it that way. So I'm just going to put my cursor right there, hit the return key. I'm going to put my cursor right there, hit the return key. I'm going to put my cursor right here and hit the return key. Now the reason I'm doing this is I'm going to share with you some what's called header tags. Header, subhead, 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 etc., etc., etc. So right now, this content, which is text, has been tagged with a P for paragraph. So as an example, if you go back into code, you'll see opening paragraph tag, closing paragraph tag. Now keep in mind that the code affects the design and the design affects the code. They're symbiotic. They talk to one another. So if I hit the return key right here, it's going to create a new paragraph. I don't want to do that. Command key Z. Make a change, save a change. So I just want you to really walk before you could run. Take it one step at a time. So here's what we're about to do. I want to tag this with a header tag, and this will be a subheader and a subheader. Okay, so how can I do that? Well, in order to affect it, I need to select it. Now, unlike a word processing program or desktop publishing, WorkExpress, InDesign, I don't have to highlight the text. I just have to have my cursor someplace inside the P for paragraph tag. And just like a word processing program, if I come down here, the formatting of this is a paragraph. But if I basically select header 1 through header 6, header 1 is bigger, header 6 is smaller. That's just how it works. I didn't make this up. I can do this with a shortcut. Command 1 through Command key 6. Windows, that would be Control 1 through Control 6. So watch how simple this is. I want to keep things really simple. I put my cursor right there. I hit Command key 1. That creates header 1. How do I know that? Because right here is a header 1 tag. Now I can do this one of two ways. I can either select the content and click down here, but that's really time consuming, isn't it? I want to share with you production techniques that are going to save you time and make you money. So I'm going to put my cursor right there and hit Command key 3. I'm going to scroll down a bit here, and right about there I'm just going to hit the return key to make myself a new paragraph, and Command 4. Make a change, save a change. So what I've done here is I've tagged some of my content with headers. Header 1 is the biggest, then header 2, header 3, header 4. Now the advantage of that sequence 2 is that it'll be picked up in a search engine when you tag your content. All tagging the first paragraph of any content container, which I will talk to you about in a subsequent video, should be the H1 tag. H1 tags followed by paragraphs, then followed by an H2 or H3 tags. I'll talk more about that in detail as the course progresses. Now let's understand what else we could do with this content. Let's say I wanted to make this word bold. Well, just like a word processing program, I can double click the word and come down here and hit B for bold. Now that doesn't create the bold tag, that creates what's called the strong tag. Strong tag, double click. I'm going to make this strong by hitting the B. I'm going to double click this word and make this strong. And I want to make, say, this word, I want to make this word italic. So I'm going to hit the I for italic, and that creates the what? That creates the EM, the emphasis tag. Now, for those of you that are desktop publishers, there's something called M spacing. Don't confuse M spacing with the emphasis tag. I'm going to double click this word. I'm going to make that italic. In fact, I'm going to double click this word and make that italic, and double click this word and make this italic, double click this word, make that italic. Now, notice I'm double clicking because that certainly beats the heck out of clicking and dragging. If you simply double click the word, you're going to get that entire word and make that italic. Now, just for a look-see here, I'm going to share with you, if I go to code, you'll see that that content has been tagged opening tag, closing tag. Now back in the day, you had to do this tedious work by hand, but now Dreamweaver will do the work for you. It's really, really that simple. Now, here's what I want to share with you. Understand that this strong tag is inside of this paragraph tag, which is part of the body tag. It's kind of a hip bone connected to the thigh bone, connected to the shin bone kind of thing. Okay, it's that type of thinking. And this is very important when we create what's called CSS, cascading styles. So it's very important to understand where your tag selectors are located in reference to your other content. So as an example, if I click here, this is an emphasis tag. Well, that's an emphasis tag. I'm going to double click this word again to make that emphasis. This is an emphasis tag. The difference, this emphasis tag is inside of the P for paragraph tag. This emphasis tag is inside the H1 tag, which is all part of the body, by the way. Okay, so everything is part of the body tag. So we're going to get right into the next video in a minute. It's really this simple. It really is this simple. In the very next video, we're going to get into cascading style sheets. And I'm going to share with you how simple it is to format your content using CSS, which stands for cascading style sheets. It basically is like a waterfall. One leads to the other. So in the next video, we'll get into CSS. Now keep in mind, I'm using Dreamweaver Creative Cloud, Dreamweaver CC. Don't confuse CC with CSS. Say that 5 times fast. So the way that we do our CSS in Dreamweaver CC is visually very different than how we do it in CS6. And that's another reason why you want to understand Dreamweaver Creative Cloud CC. Talk to you in the next video. We will get into how to create information, how to create CSS rules, and that's the correct vocabulary, using Dreamweaver. So stay tuned.